Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of what I'm calling Formula S, SWW's Formula 1 podcast. I'm AJ. I've got Mike with me, as always.
Hello.
This is the first episode, the first full episode, I should say, of the 2020 season. And for Mike, at least, it's your introduction, correct, into racing's top series.
Yeah, so like growing up, obviously my dad watched NASCAR, but like I never got into it either. But like obviously I'd see it more so, where like F1 for sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So on today's episode, we're going to cover a few things. We'll quickly go over kind of an intro, like a bare bones intro into like what's F1, like where did it start, kind of what made it popular. Some of the terminology that's used. Mike, I had you watch a race, see if there was anything that you had questions about. We'll look at the teams and the drivers that make up the sport, and a quick look ahead at the announced schedule. See, COVID-19 has changed the schedule for every sporting event, and none so bigger than F1 as of right now. So
That's interesting that it's the one that is the most changed.
well, when you take into consideration it's a worldwide.
Yeah, that makes sense compared to like obviously most sports. I guess it's a little bit different with like soccer in the Europe. Yes, I called it soccer, Europeans. With that one,
That's the original term for it, isn't it? Soccer is
it literally is. That's why it's funny as hell when people get upset. I go, it's like the British term is like literally soccer and it means something.
I think it became football in like the 70s.
Yeah, I thought it was literally in response to like
it was
some sort of
in response
thing.
to the NFL becoming as big as it was in the 70s. They started calling it football, try and take kind of that the name recognition. Also, it's in every language except for English.
Mm-hmm.
A form of football is the name for the sport.
But it's just funny that like how pissed off people get when you call it soccer. Like you're like, no, it literally is soccer. You just all changed it.
Yeah, all the English changed it. Considering talking about the English impact on sport, Formula 1, introduced in the 50s, is widely considered to be not just like open wheel racing, but racing in general. It's kind of pinnacle. A lot of people see F1 as like, if you've made it, you're the ultimate driver. Like if you can drive an F1, you were the best of the best. It was born out of the post-war culture. You had a bunch of pilots left over with a lot of time on their hands and a lot of balls. The pilots that flew for the RAF and for what was the French called? The French Air Force. And a lot of these air bases, like they had nothing to do. They were just unused. Some of them were bombed out. So pilots started driving the cars that they had around the air base, and who could go faster. Whereas NASCAR was born out of like just essentially rum runners.
Mm-hmm.
They were bored moonshine runners, talking about whose car was faster. F1 was originally and is still seen as sophisticated compared to NASCAR. It races. F1 currently races on 5 of the 7 continents. It used to race in Africa. It doesn't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the cars of today resemble spaceships more than they do like actual cars. If you go back and watch like a race from the early 60s, I would say, the cars still kind of resembled cars.
Mm-hmm.
and now they're these single-seater, basically upside-down airplanes. So, Mike, what race did you end up watching? 'Cause you said you were going to watch one, and I told you to watch one within the past 5 years.
So I watched a few things. I don't know what race. I did a couple things. So I watched, I think, a few different races just to get an idea of like what they actually look like. I think it was something in Italy based on what I was hearing in the background. And then I watched, just to give me a different flavor, I watched some of the F1 esports stuff to see how that looked like too.
Okay.
And what I found, I'm gonna say the thing that sounds crazy, 'cause I don't know if I understand how amazing the game looks, but like there are times I go, if you told me the game was real life and the race was not real life, there are times I think I would have believed you.
Yeah, I got to give it to Codemasters. Those F1 video games look amazing.
Like depending on how they play, whatever. Like physically, just looking at it, like when you have rain or like in the moment, you go, "Are you sure that I'm watching esports and not actual racing right now?" And then there are times you like they have a bad camera on the actual cars. You're like, "Oh no, maybe this is the video game."
Yeah.
Also, does every single car have a camera on it? I've noticed.
Yeah. So every car's got, well, so it's changed in the past 2 years. It's one, two, I think at least 4 cameras.
Okay.
And even if they don't have the camera in the spot where there's a spot for the camera, they need something in there so that, like, it was 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull didn't run with their nose camera.
Hmm.
Now, a camera weighs less than half a pound,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still seen as a potential advantage
Mm-hmm.
for them because they could then, that half pound means a lot because these cars they've got a weight limit that they can't go under.
Mm-hmm.
There's a thing called parc ferme. It's a French word because Formula One is underneath the FIA, the Federal International. It's a French term that's the Federal International of Automobiles, basically. International Federation of Automobile Racing is what the FIA is. And they set the rules for all of this. So, parc ferme is the cars go in after the race, and there's this. It's after practice, so there's practice, qualifying, race. After practice, cars go into parc ferme, and what that means is you can't change anything on the car. Like you can tweak front wing angle, and there's one other thing that you can make small adjustments, but you can't be like, oh shit, we have the wrong wing on here, we need to put a new one on.
At that point, you're fucked.
That's a violation.
Is there no petition to like, hey, I need to switch this thing? If something goes wrong, or no?
So you can, like, if you crash in qualifying, for instance, they will kind of turn a blind eye. Granted, you're going to be starting from the back anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You will, like, if for instance, like, you went out and so qualifying in Formula One is different to, if listeners are know NASCAR. NASCAR, you're given laps to set a time. In F1, there's a time block. It's like 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So in that 15 minutes, you can make as many laps as you want. You can come in and change, like, okay, we need to change tire pressures. That's something that you can change. Because the tires are too hot. Or, so the way that the tires work, there's hard, medium, and soft compounds. They all wear at different rates, but they're also different grip levels. So the soft tire is going to wear the fastest, but it's also the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put on a soft tire in qualifying, it may only last for 5 laps. So you're going to have to come in and change it, but you're going to be a hell of a lot faster than, on the order of tenths of seconds faster than a medium, and potentially half a second faster than the hard. So, there's a lot of strategy in it as well. But, like, if you went out and you made it into Q3, which is the final 10 spots, it's the top 10, and you set a time that was good enough for 4th early on, and then you went out to try to improve that time, but you crashed and wrecked your car, you could potentially stay in 4th if your crew was able to get the repairs done in time. Otherwise, you're going to be starting. You're going to be taking grid place penalties, because if they have to replace parts, that's like, so the engine, the gearbox, hybrid system. There's a bunch of parts that, if you replace them, take a grid place penalty. To kind of avoid what happened in the 80s and 90s, where these teams were just cranking as much power as possible out of these engines and then just blowing them. So, there were teams that were going through 3 or 4 engines a weekend.
Jesus.
Yeah. And it was insane. If you're interested in seeing some of the history of F1, I'd say go back and watch like the races from '92. That was kind of the big era of just ultimate speed. But yeah, so was there anything that during the stuff that you watched that commentators were talking about that they didn't cover?
Let me see. I wrote notes. I think most of it made sense. So this was a term that someone said that I didn't understand, and I'm curious if this means something, or was it just like someone saying something? There's something like they wanted someone to Mansell PK87 him.
So that's a reference to Mansell is Nigel Mansell.
Okay.
PK is Nelson PK. 87 is the year 87.
So what is the background of that one?
It was a driver battle. It was a very good one. I'm not sure the exact race that they were talking about.
But you roughly know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like look at that, like that has to like be an event or something. So I was like, that's such a very specific term.
Nigel Mansell, owner of one of the greatest mustaches ever.
Hold up. To me, the greatest mustache in pop culture. Do you know who I'm going to say it is?
I'm going to say Tom Selleck.
No, I'm not actually. Did you used to watch Nightline on, is it ABC?
Nightline was on
NBC or ABC?
NBC.
Okay. John Stossel. That man's mustache.
No, quick look up Nigel Mansell.
Is it better?
Oh, dude. Nigel Mansell's mustache was...
Because you know it's Stossel's mustache, right? The big bushy?
Yeah.
Okay,
Nigel Mansell's stash is like...
They're definitely like a... it's a stash, but like... So, I don't know. So the thing is, the stash is too tamed. And if I look at part of a stash, So, it reminds me of... It's like... I think it's Coach Q that used to be the coach of the Blackhawks forever. Like that, it reminds me more of that kind of look.
Yeah, Mansell, though, his stash was like, especially if you take into consideration, like, everybody else he was driving against were these clean-shaven, like, Frenchmen or Germans or
like,
Brazilians. And he's just got this great lip sweater that, like, just full British, just, yeah.
He's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I had another question that actually wasn't a term question, but it was a logistical part of the race. So obviously we saw Ford versus Ferrari, right? So I thought that was just a Le Mans thing, and I'm curious if it's always a thing. Do they always just run to the car and all have a giant accident in the beginning,
In Le Mans?
or just in general?
So Le Mans stopped doing it's called the Le Mans Start because of that.
Okay.
They stopped doing that in the 70s.
Totally looks like there's still race. Whatever I watched did something not quite the same but similar. Like,
Oh, you're talking about like so the drivers are in the cars,
okay,
and then they've got like their engineers and all that around the cars while they're sitting on the grid.
okay,
So yeah, there's a bunch of people, and then they do what's called a formation lap. So the cars get on the grid and they grid up, and we'll get into that in a second. But so then they sit there for like 10, 15 minutes or so,
mm-hmm.
going over final like strategy, quick last second adjustments. And yeah, you've got your engineers and like you've got guys with the leaf blowers blowing air onto the brakes to keep them cool, or air into the intakes into the radiators to keep the engine.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the start of a race, there's a shit ton of people there. But so then the cars leave to do the parade lap, and then those people all book it back into the pits.
That totally feels like that. That's one of the things I'm like. That looks like a cluster.
So they give them I think 30-second heads up, and then everybody gets to the sides, either side of the track. The cars leave. They don't like start. They just kind of roll out.
Mm-hmm.
And then all those people pick their stuff up and head into the pits.
Interesting. I think that's all the general questions I wrote down from what I was seeing. Oh, the other question I had. So obviously I know it's variable. If I said we're going to watch an F1 race, are they all like this 3 to 4 hour range, or is it like very variable? Obviously, because like, Maz is different and there's a few others.
So an F1 race is 300 kilometers, give or take.
Okay.
So, however, and they actually have a time limit, and the time limit was introduced in 2012 after what is probably the greatest race ever, the 2011 Canadian Grand Prix. That race took 5 hours because they had two or three red flag periods due to the rain. So it's 300 kilometers or 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't really go much further than 300 kilometers because
the cars will break.
Well, so refueling has been banned since early 2000s.
Wait, so you can't? So you just have the gas in your car?
You have 105 kilograms of.
Interesting. I don't know if I caught that. I just assumed because, like, obviously NASCAR, you refuel all the fucking time.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, these cars aren't getting much better mileage than NASCARs.
So why is it a danger thing?
Well, yes, refueling open wheel cars is extremely dangerous. Because you're inevitably like leaning over bodywork and tires and things like that. Mm-hmm. Whereas NASCAR, because they're the tin tops and they have the full body, you're just there's nothing there. It's just the gas hole. Like it's up against the outside of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, refueling is extremely dangerous. They do it in IndyCar, but IndyCar pit stops are a lot slower anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, and since refueling's been banned, you've seen pit stops drop below 2 seconds.
Really?
So, yeah.
So what do you do at a 2 second pit stop then? Like at that point, then
you're changing all 4 tires.
That's it.
Yeah, they'll sometimes do like quick wing adjustments or like cleaning the driver's visor off or something like that.
But like absurdly quick stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so F1 is very unique in their pit stops in the sense that they kind of have an unlimited number of people that can work on a stop.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a front and rear jack man, you have the lollipop man, you have 3 people per wheel, and usually a guy working with the driver.
Hmm.
So, whereas NASCAR, it's jackman, fuel man, and then a total of 4 for the tires, 2 for front and 2 back.
Okay.
And then they have to do each side separately. So, yeah.
Okay. Perfect. I think that explains a lot of that.
Yeah. And there's definitely going to be terms that come up during races that they mention we'll cover, but so a while back when we thought this was going to be much earlier in the year, I had you kind of play like 20 questions to choose a driver to follow.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you followed the driver that you chose, because you ended up choosing the future of Ferrari, Mr. Charles Leclerc, or as the English call him, Charles Leclerc.
Leclerc?
Yeah. So if you watched some of the F1 esports stuff, he did some of those races. And I'm curious, the real race that you saw, do you remember what year it was from?
2018.
Okay, so he wasn't in the Ferrari at that time.
Interesting. Okay. This man's only 22? Jesus Christ.
To put it into perspective, Max Verstappen, who drives for Red Bull, won his first race for them when he was 17.
So do they have no like rules on this of like 18 or anything?
They do. It was introduced after Verstappen won. So
they're like, yeah, he's too good.
So the F1 grid has a total of 20 drivers on it as of right now. 10 teams. Each team fields 2 drivers. I believe the current regulations are good to 12 teams. So if 2 more teams wanted to jump in, they wouldn't have to do any funny business. So at the top, you got Mercedes, who are, I believe, 13. From 14 on, they have won the title. The constructor's title, and one of their drivers has won the driver's title. They are, so, okay, that's another thing. There are 2 championships. There's the constructor's championship and the driver's championship. So, obviously, constructors is a combination of their 2 drivers' points. You could, in theory, have the driver's championship be from a different team than the constructors championship, or vice versa. So Mercedes is at the top. They've been at the top, like I said, for the past what seems like forever. They are led by Lewis Hamilton, the only black driver. He is a 6-time world champion. His co-driver, his teammate, is Valtteri Bottas, a Finnish driver. Lewis is from the UK.
Okay.
Ferrari, the team that's been in the sport the longest, is helmed by Sebastian Vettel, a 4-time German driver, 4-time champion. He won his titles at Red Bull, and he won his 4 in a row. He is, during that time, arguably the most dominant driver F1 has ever seen. Which is insane to think about when you start looking at the way that Mercedes has been the past 6 years. And, okay, so Lewis won his 6 titles. He's probably going to win a 7th and tie Schumacher. He did not win them all at Mercedes. he was a McLaren driver to start and won one there. So drivers can move around, and they don't. My dogs are going crazy.
Oh. I think they're good. Nope,
they're back. They're going nuts at probably somebody in the park. So Ferrari has got Charles Leclerc as their second driver for this year. So the Ferrari lineup has changed since it's this way. This lineup is for the 2020 season. For 2021, Vettel has announced that he will no longer be at Ferrari. He has yet to land a home. So that's still, the seat has been filled, and we'll get to that later. But yeah, this lineup is for 2020. So. Red Bull is next. They have the young Dutchman in Max Verstappen and a Thai English driver by the name of Alexander Albon. Racing Point, which used to be Force India, which was owned by an Indian man who is wanted in India for tax evasion, and is now owned by a Canadian billionaire who just bought Aston Martin and is now going to be named Aston Martin as of either this year or next. Is raced by Sergio Perez, a Mexican driver who is very good. Unfortunately, has not had the breaks that some of these other drivers have had. Their second driver is Lance Stroll, who's a pay driver. His daddy owns the team. Yeah. Not very good. He's Canadian. At the Canadian Grand Prix, there is a grandstand that is Stroll grandstand. Then we've got McLaren. The same McLaren that makes road cars. They have got the meme lord, Lando Norris. And
the meme lord?
Oh, yeah. Look up Lando Norris's Twitch or his Twitter or his Instagram. Lando, I believe, is either 19 or 20. Very much a kid of internet era.
Of course he is.
Their second driver, who is now going to be a Ferrari driver as of 2021, is Carlos Sainz Jr. His father raced in F1 as well. So Carlos and Max Verstappen is actually the son of a F1 driver as well. Jos Verstappen, who now races for Corvette Racing in their endurance cars. Carlos Sainz Sr. is one of the greatest rally drivers in the world as well.
One of? Not the greatest?
So it's odd because rally has many different disciplines. So Carlos Sainz Sr. has won the Dakar Rally, I don't know how many times in a row, but he's an okay stage rally driver. So that gets a little weird there. Then we've got AlphaTauri, as they're called. They used to be called Toro Rosso. They are the Red Bull Junior team. They have got the Russian torpedo Daniel Kvyat and the Frenchman Pierre Gasly. Then we've got Renault factory team. They are helmed by Daniel Ricciardo, who's now at McLaren, replacing Carlos Sainz, and they've got Esteban Ocon for 20. The race that you saw probably had Nico Hülkenberg at Renault. It's a German driver and holds the record for the most races ever raced without getting a podium. And is probably most famous for his radio quote of "I'm hung here like a pig."
He did not.
He was upside down in Dubai he crashed and was upside down in the tire barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, he's either stuck here or hung here like a pig. And then we've got Alfa Romeo. They used to be called Sauber.
I've heard that. Alfa Romeo.
Yeah. They are the Ferrari junior team. So the race that you saw, Charles Leclerc was driving for Sauber.
Okay.
If he was in the race, he would have been driving for Sauber. They are helmed by Kimi Räikkönen, otherwise known as the Iceman. He is Ferrari's last world champion. He won his title in 2007. He is the oldest driver on the grid. He is 42. And then his teammate is Antonio Giovinazzi. Italian? Not a great driver, but consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't normally crash the car. Then we've got Haas, which has been a boondoggle, but a fun one to watch. They are the only American team. Surprisingly enough, not the only team helmed by an American, though.
Really?
McLaren is run by an American. His name is Zach Brown. Racing Point, their team principal is American.
Mm-hmm.
He's originally Hungarian. He went to school at Wayne State in Detroit and has worked his way through the auto industry. So I think he's kind of goes by both countries, both nationalities. So Haas is owned by Gene Haas, the man that started Haas CNC manufacturing. They also have a NASCAR team with Tony Stewart Haas Racing. They are not, though, the Haas of the 70s. There was a Haas F1 team that was an American team in the 70s. No relation whatsoever. They are led by Kevin Suck My Balls Mate Magnussen and Roman Grosjean, the chef.
Ooh.
He's got a cookbook out with his wife. Kevin's from Denmark.
Denmark. Do we accept those people?
The Danes?
The Danes, yes.
Kevin's dad didn't race in F1, but he is also a very good.
That didn't answer the question. The Danes, do we accept them?
They're very good. Kevin's awesome.
We accept the Danes. Danes, you are allowed to stay. The Greenlanders, though, I'm sorry, you do have to go.
And then we've got probably the saddest team to watch in the past 5 years, Williams. They are helmed by George Russell, very young. He's 23, very young driver. And for 2020, they have got Nicholas Latifi, a Canadian. George is British. And you probably saw a race with Robert Kubica and Lance Stroll in Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Williams is the second winningest team in F1.
Mm-hmm.
And they have completely fallen off a cliff. It's been very sad to watch. They are the last of what they were called garagistas, what Enzo Ferrari used to call them.
Mm-hmm.
These small kind of bootstraps teams. Williams was founded by Sir Frank Williams.
Sir Frank Williams?
Yep. And in fact, he is still seen at some of the races. The team is now run by his daughter, Claire, who just put the team up for sale during the off-season.
How much can we crowdfund to get him, do you think?
No.
No?
No. Unless your last name is Musk and you have money just for some reason burning a hole in your pocket.
How long do you think till Musk tries to buy a team?
He would buy a Formula E team before he would buy a Formula 1 team.
You think so?
Because it fits his narrative. Oh yeah, I want to save the world, but really I want to save it for my rich friends, and then we're all going to fly up to Mars anyway.
That's true.
Yeah. So that is a overlook of the teams. I did it all by memory, and I'm pretty sure I got them in order of
good
finishing order. Yeah, of 2019. There may be a few that I missed, but with the obviously it's a reduced schedule to due to Rona. Sharona.
Rona.
Hi, Sharona.
No, it's my Rona. Corona.
Yeah. Corona. Still do it. F1's schedule is still up in the air. In fact, it hasn't been finalized.
What do you think, do you think, because, obviously America's stuff's in the air, but, a lot of Western Europe's starting to open up.
It is, but you're not going to see... So these race weekends generally, if they're in a popular area, in an area that's had F1 for a long time, it's not unheard of to see 100,000 people go through the gates over the weekend. So I don't see that being a possibility. You'll potentially have races, but you're not going to have races with fans. So as of now, we have a back-to-back in Austria. We have a one-race stop in Hungary at one of the most boring tracks, the Hungaroring. Austria's track is called the Red Bull Ring. It used to be the A1 Ring. It used to be the Österreich Ring. Yeah, it's gone by a bunch of names. It's a fun race to watch because it is fast. It is one of the fastest tracks on the circuit. It is up there with Monza as being one of the shortest lap times. In fact, the 2019 pole time is like a minute 3 or 4. They are flying. It's a bunch of straights, basically. Another back-to-back at Silverstone, which is one of the original tracks that's in the UK. One race each at Spain at Catalunya, Belgium at the world-famous Spa-Francorchamps, and Italy at Monza. There are rumors that F1 will return to Imola, a track made famous for being the site that claimed 2 lives in a weekend in 1994.
Oof.
That race we lost Ayrton Senna, one of the greatest drivers ever, as well as Roland Ratzenberger, a driver that had a huge future ahead of him. There are rumors that they could run in Portugal. Supposedly, the FIA had made a promise to Portugal that they're going to get a race in September.
Do you think it's still on the books?
It would have to be late September, judging by kind of what they already have in place. It wouldn't be unheard of.
Okay.
There are a couple tracks in Portugal that are Grade 1 certified, so yeah, it could be done. They're definitely, though, not running at Canada, Monaco, Singapore, Japan. The US is still up in the air. They're not running at China. And the other one, France, they're definitely not running at. So, yeah. And then the Dutch Grand Prix was going to be introduced for this year, as well as the Vietnam Grand Prix. Those are both postponed. Vietnam until next year, because that is a combination street and track circuit. The Dutch race they could do because it's a standalone circuit, standalone racetrack. But yet to be seen to Zandvoort. So yeah. So yeah, any questions?
No, I think obviously it's a lot. I can take stuff in. What is our next plans then? Are we waiting for some races to be determined, or?
Yeah, so we will have this episode will go up, and then it'll be.
You said the first race. I thought it was right after this episode goes up or something. So episode goes up. This episode, as everyone hears it, is going up on July 3rd. So.
Yeah, so Sunday is the first race. It's the first race in Austria. We'll probably just do a recap of both the races because they're back-to-back weekends. So
the other race will be the 10th, which means this is the next one's probably looking something like the 24th or 31st or whatever.
Okay. So the race after is the 12th. The 11th or 12th. Yeah.
Okay.
So then we will recap, be back-to-back in Austria, look forward at the race in Hungary, and yeah, talk to you guys later.
Perfect. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good time. Remember, follow our stuff. This podcast was a production of the SWW Show. To learn more, go to theswwshow.com. Remember, you can follow the show on Twitter at thesww show. You can follow me at Mikey_Maroney. You can follow AJ at LowSeatBoy. Remember, new episodes premiere on Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time on anchor.fm/SWW and podcast services around the globe.